Hey guys, today's video is all about how you can get work just by talking about yourself, just talking to other people about what you do as an illustrator. Really important topic, and I do talk about marketing on this channel quite a bit because let's face it, no matter how talented we are as illustrators, if clients can't find us and we can't get work, our career just kind of hits a dead end. So it's an important topic. This is an easy method that I've used, and I have gotten a surprising amount of good projects and a number of good clients just by doing this, and it's easy. Later on the video, at the end, I will talk about the project that's on my screen, which is a CGI project for a robotics company. I'm going to show you the final, and I'm also going to show you the kind of loose sketch that the client gave me to work from. And I'll also talk about the process that I used in this project. Okay, so there's 4 steps to this method. I'm going to tell a story and see if you can find what the 4 steps are in the story. I see somebody hiding over here, so I know that's you, Alice. You don't need to hide. Just hold your questions to the end, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so the 4 steps. Let me tell you about a guy and his wife that moved into my neighborhood. So a couple moved in, didn't know who they were, didn't know their names, never met them. So I'm out walking one weekend and I see this guy working on the landscaping in his yard. He doesn't even see me. And I noticed something kind of wild in the driveway. In the driveway, he has a sports car with a big number painted on the side of it. So I'm thinking, well, this guy or his wife or both of them, maybe they have a hobby and they race cars. It's not something I'd ever seen in my neighborhood before. I'm walking down the street, so I shout out to this guy, hey, what's the story with the race car? And he looks up and comes right over, great, wants to meet neighbors, that sort of thing. We get into a conversation, yeah, and he and his wife do race on the weekends. During the course of the conversation, I said, hey, what do you do for a living? And he says, well, I work for a company that develops technology for homeland security stuff. That was kind of interesting because I happen to work for several companies that do homeland security stuff. So I said to him, that's quite a coincidence because I work with a couple companies that do homeland security stuff. And his face just kind of lit up and he said, well, what do you do? And I said, I'm a CGI illustrator. I do illustrations for marketing materials and presentations, trade shows, stuff like that. Then he says to me, we might need someone with your skills for a project that we have coming up in about 3 weeks. Can I get your contact information? Absolutely, I thought to myself. Now, I had a business card in my wallet, always keep them with me, but instead of taking out a business card, instead I pulled out my iPhone. And I asked him to give me his email address, his name, Luke, and also his phone number. I wanted to have that on my iPhone. And I told him I would email over to him my website link and just a little bit more about the kind of work that I do. And I told him I would send over to him in the morning a link to my website and tell him a little bit more about what I do.
What's his wife's name?
Yeah, I don't remember what his wife's name was. Maybe it was Beth or something, but I really don't see what that has to do with my discussion today. So hold your questions and try to make them relevant to the end. Now, once I had his contact information, I did pull out my wallet and I did give him one of my business cards. Now, why is it that I didn't give him my business card at the outset? Because I've learned from long experience that you can be having a wonderful conversation with someone at a party, and it sounds like they're gonna hire you for like this huge project, and then you give them your business card. What happens? You never hear from them again. So I don't make that mistake anymore. I get their contact information so I can be proactive and kind of in the driver's seat here. But I also give my business card as well. Now, in this story, were you able to pick out the 4 steps to this method? Okay, here they are. Number 1, I asked what he did for a living. Ask the person that you meet what they do for a living because that opens up the conversation and many times they will ask you back what you do for a living as well. Step number 2, I talked about what I did for a living, but I didn't say, oh, I'm an illustrator. I said I'm a CGI illustrator. I talked about the kind of projects I do a little bit and the type of clients that I work for. So you do want to give some detail. Step number 3, I got his contact information. And step number 4, I followed up the next day and I sent him a link to my website and some more information about what I do. Here's the thing, this particular conversation, just shouting out to this guy on the street, led to like 4 different projects with this company. 3 weeks later, I'm sitting down in a conference room with these people and I've got this huge project. It was fantastic and it would have never happened unless I'd said to this guy, hey, what's the story about the race car? You know, I mean, that was it. That's what started the whole thing off. If I had just walked by and just felt like, well, the guy's working on his landscaping, I better not talk to him, none of this stuff would have happened. Instead, I got a good client.
Suppose you're kind of shy.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so that's a good question. Well, basically, I think we're all shy, right? I mean, you know, Okay, raise your hands. Who is shy in this audience? Or let's do it the other way. Who is not shy talking about what they do for a living? One person. I'm shy. May not seem that way, but you know, I'm in a situation where I can have a conversation like this, and guess what happens? I get this little shy voice in my head that says, oh, don't talk about yourself, don't talk about what you do. They're not going to find it interesting, and I just want to take and strangle that voice. And that's actually what I do. I strangle the voice and I say, get the out of here. I'm going to talk about what I do. Now, let me tell you something about what you do as illustrators, okay? So everybody is an illustrator here, I assume. When you become an illustrator, you have an interesting career. It's interesting to other people. And why is that? Think about it. You're self-employed. You work for yourself. You don't have a boss. You don't work in a cubicle or a cube farm. You're basically working out of your studio at your house. You have no commute. You're self-employed, and you're doing something that's creative and something that seems like it's fun. Now, people don't understand that illustration is a lot of work, and you don't necessarily have a medical insurance policy as a benefit, and sometimes you don't have work, so there are definitely stresses. But here's the thing, many people really look at you as an illustrator as having a very interesting career path, very different than them. Let's face it, a lot of people, you'll be at a party, you'll be talking to somebody and you ask them what they do. They start telling you what they do. You don't understand what they do. And maybe they don't understand what they do. I mean, some of these job descriptions these days in management, it's just bewildering. I don't know what they do for a living. So you do have an interesting career, and remember that. Feel good about talking about yourself. Push yourself a little bit to engage with people, and be aware that many times they do want to know what you do. And as I said before, it can lead to some pretty good projects. Okay, so this is a project for a robotics company, and here are my CGI files. Let's take a look at the final here, and I'll explain what we've got happening. So we have a conveyor here and another conveyor here, okay? And the conveyor has little boxes on it, packages of some sort. As they slide down here, they get sucked up by this assembly here. This is called a linear actuator. And it actually has a moving thing that can actually suck it up. That's why you see it off of the conveyor here. Then the whole assembly slides over and the package is dropped in the box. Let me show you what I started working with to do this. Here's the rough sketch the client sent me. Not a whole lot of information here, but enough that I could work from. Sometimes it's fun to work from sketches like this where you don't have a whole lot of information and you have to research it and learn about it yourself. So I kind of enjoy the process. Now, going to the CGI files, I'll show you something kind of cool. Once you create one of these boxes, you don't have to do them over and over again. So if I double click on this guy, that will open up, and you see what I've got here. I've got just a little rectangular shape with rounded corners. Gave it kind of a cream color. I could give it any color I want. And I can just replicate that once I have it created. Same goes for the boxes. Let's double click on one of these. So the box consists of these packages. I'll lift them up, nothing underneath because you don't see it. And also a box itself, which is its own separate shape. That's what we call it. That's the box itself that I've created, made of all these different pieces. So, cool thing is, once you get one of these made, you can just duplicate it very easily. And I'll just pull another one off by holding down the Option key. Very nice and a fun thing that you can do with CGI. So here is the final and fun project to work on. I did a number of illustrations for this client. This is just one of them, and one of the ones that I like the best.